That man.
This is the Sports Porch, Philadelphia, with your hosts, the Grand Schwabini, Rube, and me, your technical director. Come on, Philly, show us a little Eagles, Flyers, Phillies, and Sixers love. The Philadelphia Sports Porch starts now. All right, here we are with the Philadelphia Sports Porch. Welcome back every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're watching live, you're watching us right now on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And, of course, we're going to drop this podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get
your freaking podcast.
That's right. And if you're watching us right now as well, head on over to YouTube and subscribe. Philadelphia Sports Porch is our name. I am your technical director. Across from me in the studio is the Grand Schwabini, and coming to us from someplace outside of Austin, Texas, is Rastafarian Rube with his new Eagles cap. And Lemmer, of course, she loves the hat. Rube. I mean, I had so many questions. So many.
Well,
this was late at night. Do you think maybe
this was a gift that was supposed to be here in time for my daughter Emma, who is a big Eagles fan as well. She's learning how to knit, and apparently it took a while to get the Eagles logo from eBay, but it came this week, and I'm super excited. It's a bucket hat.
That's not she didn't knit the Eagles logo. She like pasted it on there.
You know what? You'll have to talk to Emma Rubenstein about that.
Show us the Eagles. Show us the Eagles logo.
She sewed the logo onto a green and white hat.
Okay, there it is. All right. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
Is it warm, and do you need that in Austin, Texas?
Well, let me tell you something. It was chilly this weekend, and the mornings are in the 40s and maybe the 50s, but it's supposed to be like 88 this week. So this will be my last chance to wear it for a while.
Okay. All right. Grand Schwabini, any thoughts on the Rastafarian Eagles hat that Rube is wearing?
Well, I would say that it is very wonderful that your daughter cares for you as much as she does. I'll leave it at that.
All right, everybody. Hey, HJ.
Love you, Bear. Love you very much.
Okay, what are we going to do here? Well, hey, look.
Let's talk sports.
Legal tampering. Look, is there anything more ridiculous than that phrase in the NFL? This is now the legal tampering
period. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's a conflict.
Yeah, literally. Yes. It is.
Because tampering should not be legal.
I think that's the whole idea behind the word.
It's an oxymoron, if you will.
Ooh,
so of course, there's been a lot of movement in the NFL. The movement we're concerned about with the most is the Eagles movement. So there's been some developments that we've all been made aware of over the last few days, basically. And then some that have just kind of dropped that we'll talk about it. But this week, we're going to have 5-6 pages. Page 1, the Eagles free agency. Page 2, we're going to talk about the Phils. Page 3, the Sixers and how great things are going there. Page 4, the Flyers, trade deadline breakdown. We're going to do a little March Madness preview. That's on you guys. I'm not a huge college basketball
That's
guy.
on Rob.
No, okay,
we can do that. We can. That'll be a next week thing. The brackets come out on Sunday, so we can.
Let's get right into Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, let's do that.
All these people watching.
Eagle free agency frenzy. Everybody already knows now that Saquon Barkley has been extended, and of course, he is now not only the highest paid running. Well, he is the highest paid running back of all time.
He is. Yep.
And resetting the market for running backs.
Yep.
And I want to hear your thoughts on this, but I also want to mention that none of the other running backs that are quote unquote available as of yet have signed anywhere. Najee Harris.
No, Aaron Jones re-signed with Minnesota.
I'm talking about the guys that are, okay. So, but not a lot of movement because apparently there is a dearth of running backs available in this draft that supposedly have breakaway speed and all this kind of stuff. So, first of all, how do you guys feel about Saquon getting paid and the prospects for the future with him with the Eagles? Because we know he's getting to the magic age. And then second of all, How do you guys feel about what that says now about a potential rebirth of the running back in the NFL? Is there any credence to that at all? Let's start with you, Rube. Go ahead.
Well, listen, I don't know about the rebirth of the running back in the NFL. He's an extraordinary, he had an extraordinary year, and I like the way Howie does things, which is wrap up your guys early, in case the market does go way north, right? I've been watching it for 25 years down here at the Cowboys. They wait, and then overpay. So I'm fine with the extension. I like the way they worded it. We rewarded him with an extension. And I think, listen, if anyone's going to be able to do it, the guy takes great care of his body. They're going to figure out how to get him less touches during the next couple of years. And yeah, I like the extension. And I think he definitely earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, look, I mean, you couldn't ask him to do any more. He set the record for the most rushing yards, season and playoffs combined of all time. So really, there could not be a better performance. So I think you reward that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that the running back position was pretty severely underpaid. That's the way the whole league was going with it. These guys will be on your team for 5 years and then run them off because, because of usage, they're not going to be able to get things done. But I think we all know that for special backs, there's exceptions to that. I mean, look at, Derrick Henry's another one. Right. So I think, you reward that guy. And I think the other thing that it does is it sends a very positive message to the league that, like, look, it's not going to happen for everybody. I mean, you got to do something special. But if you come to the Eagles and you do something special like Saquon did, you'll get rewarded. That's a better place to go than some other team where, you don't know, like they might just throw you out on the trash heap the next year.
Right.
So I think it was just good business. And, look, I think he's got a few more good years left in him. So I think it's a good deal. I mean, if he's with them, I believe, through his age 31 or 32 season, something like that. If that's the case, he'll probably be, an Eagle kind of to finish out his career. If not, maybe a year or two, one place else.
It's too early to say this, but I don't think I see Saquon Barkley ever playing for another franchise.
Might not.
I mean, the NFL is a business, and even back in the 70s, Franco Harris, God bless him, played for the Seahawks the last year, but that was a different time. So I think that, and the big thing here is you got exactly what you wanted from Saquon Barkley. You actually got more.
Yeah, more.
Not only did you get 2,000 yards rushing, 2,500 yards from scrimmage, you got a Super Bowl trophy. He was,
and you have an ambassador, right? So Jeffrey Lurie sees all the Saquon shirts out in the stadium and at the parade. And who else do you want representing your team but a guy like that? So smart. I think Schwabini said it right. Good business move.
Absolutely.
Regardless of how it works out.
I do think that the Eagles, there's a lot of naysayers out there, not many. And if they are naysayers, it's kind of on the light side. And they're usually from another franchise like the Giants, who say, well, what did he do with the Giants when they had a shitty quarterback and a shitty offensive line? Not much. But what it does, this is where I'm coming from with the resetting the running back situation. Saquon is a special back, but they did have the best offensive line in football.
Sure.
And they also had two of the better receivers, as well as a pretty damn good quarterback. So, but that just reinforces the fact that it's a team game.
Yeah. And if anything, you could make an argument that took less tread off the tires because they were opening up some pretty big holes for him. He had a lot of runs where he wasn't touched this year.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's better than that?
Right. So that's a positive.
Yeah. I love when they say that running backs, they love the contact. They say this about the former Steelers running back, Najee Harris. He loves the contact. By the way, the breaking news we have right now on, I'm looking at ESPN right now. I'm just going to get to it right now, is that Kenny Pickett has been traded to the Cleveland Browns.
For a fifth round pick and Dorian Thompson Robinson. So it is Tanner McKee time for QB2, and Dorian will be QB3 in the same sort of running quarterback mold.
Yeah. Now I have to step in here and say, as also as a Steelers show host, that our second show in the Steel City.
Not helping.
Well, I know it's not helping, but Kenny Pickett is getting exactly what he deserved. What
if Kenny Pickett goes to Cleveland and starts lighting it up?
No, the only thing he's going to do there is kneel down for the last play of the year, whatever game that is. So what is
Give him a statue? Give him a statue.
We're gonna talk more about him at 7:30 Eastern time on our next show. But I find that very interesting. What does that say about Kenny Pickett and what the Eagles actually thought of him?
No, I think it's just probably, let's get ourselves another pick. Let's give him an opportunity to play somewhere, because he's not going to play for us. We know that.
Right.
So why not?
Yeah.
Really, in a sense, what the Eagles were doing is rehabilitating him. Right. And we'll see. We'll see if he can do anything for Cleveland. I would guess not.
I would.
But
I'll tell you what, though. If I'm Kenny Pickett, I am pissed.
He's got it. No, I disagree. I think he's got a chance to play. Right?
Yeah. Look, man. Listen. When you live this close to the mistake on the lake, I mean, even if Cleveland offered me $1 million to play quarterback, I would say no, even if they guaranteed it and said you only have to show up for one snap. I mean, that organization is a dumpster fire. And coming from the Pittsburgh side of things, I think Kenny Pickett deserved nothing less.
Let's go to Zach Bond.
That's right. Let's move on to Zach Bond.
Zach is back.
Zach Bond. What were the terms of his deal? It was like 5 days ago.
3 years, 51.
3 years, 51. There you go.
Yeah. So I think Rube, you'll agree with me. I think this was the most important free agent to bring back. And so we did that. So thank God, because he basically creates a turnover in every single game. And you need somebody in that, second level of the defense who's just a baller. And he has been that. And actually, I think it's a pretty good deal, $17 million a year. Some of the other linebackers were, getting 20 million type money. So I think he also sort of looked at it and said, this is a place I want to be. They kind of helped me, resurrect my career. And I couldn't be happier. How about you, Rube?
Yeah, love it. And I love it for all the reasons you said. Plus, as good as Nakobe has improved, he can't stay on the field. And you need a leader in the linebacker position. He was fantastic. Listen, I think we were texting about this. I think we paid him a lot of money. I don't know if he's $17 million a year. Good, but in Vic Fangio's defense, he could be Dick Butkus for all we know. So we all, the three of us, agreed he's the most important one to bring back, and so we brought him back. And we'll talk about a couple other guys that aren't going to be with us anymore. So having that stability and continuity in the middle of that defense is going to be super important.
Yeah. And before we do that, I want to thank everybody who's watching us live all over the world right now. This is the Philadelphia Sports Porch. We are currently on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And of course, we drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. Go on over to YouTube if you're not there already, and subscribe to our channel at Philadelphia Sports Porch. Currently, right now, we have a bunch of people watching on X. So we thank you for being there and watching our show. Eagles free agency frenzy. Zach Bond.
Yeah.
I think Zach Bond would have been crazy to go anywhere else. And I think he knew he was going to get paid. He deserved to get paid. And why not try to rerun it back? There's some other holes that are going to need to be filled. We'll talk about those in a minute. I think it was a great signing. I think it was one of the best pickups in an offseason that I've seen in a long time. And I think I said last week, and I think all of us did, he'd be crazy to sign anywhere else. Even if they gave him, Garrett money. Which they were never going to do. But, I think it's great. I think you got to keep him there. He's a great player.
So let's talk about the guys who are gone now. And there's a whole bunch of them.
Right.
Let's just take it one at a time here. Let's talk Milton Williams, number one. Now, I love Milton Williams, but I will tell you what, Rube, I don't think he's a $26 million a year player. I don't think he's the third best defensive tackle in the NFL. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. When we spoke about the people we thought should be back and wanted back, I think he was number 3 or 4 on my list. Even actually behind Rodgers, who we'll talk about here in a second. But listen, Jalen Carter made him a lot of money this year. You play against one of the youngest, baddest defensive linemen in the league. You're going to get your opportunities, and good for him. He had a good year. He had an outstanding Super Bowl, and good luck to him in New England, trying to build that defense. What I didn't hear is what happened with Carolina, because they originally tried to sign him. What happened?
Yeah, they were close. Just New England just made it impossible. They just paid him so much money.
Good luck. Good luck, Milton Williams. We loved you while you were here. Thank you for the contributions. Have fun in New England.
Yeah, I think that I think the Eagles have the ability to continue to draft depth, and I think they've shown that they can do that. So while his name was called an awful lot in the postseason this year, and he did contribute a lot, like you said, you have Jalen Carter there opening up a lot of holes for you, taking a lot of attention. You have Jordan Davis, who's just an absolute monster. And I have complete faith that they're going to be able to replace Milton Williams in that spot. So no, I don't think he's the third best defensive tackle in the league. Right. But he got paid. Good for him. He won a Super Bowl and he got paid. Josh Sweat.
Yeah, Josh Sweat. Now, he's the guy who I wasn't really that concerned with losing. I know you guys felt a little more positive about him. I just always feel like he disappears for several games at a time. And if you really think about it, he was a free agent last year and nobody wanted him.
Was he really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he was a free agent last year. Nobody wanted him. And then like three weeks into free agency, they were like, hey, we'll bring you back 1 year, 10 million, prove yourself again.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So, look, I mean, he had a monster Super Bowl. He was playing against a player who was playing out of position. And he ate him up. So, good job. But, the bottom line is when, if I'm an opposing offense and I'm looking at the Eagles defense, right? I'm concerned about Jalen Carter. I'm concerned about Nolan Smith. I'm concerned about Zach Bond. I'm concerned about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Those are all the people that I've gone through until I get to Josh Sweat. So CJGJ before Josh Sweat as well. Yeah. I'd maybe even see Reed Blankenship.
I mean, really, Reed Blankenship?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Yeah.
No. Well, actually, you want to hear something interesting? Slay, who, first off, I'm 95% sure he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I did see some reports.
I called that one last
I know,
week.
but I did see some reports that, there were some Philly reports that just came out recently that just said it's not 100% done deal yet, blah, blah, blah. There's always one player or two players that changes their mind, so we'll see. But anyway, Slay was on a podcast and he was talking about who's going to lead the secondary when he's gone. And he said Reed Blankenship is the guy. He's the guy that everybody follows. And actually, CJ GJ got really pissed off about it. He felt Slay was really slighting him. But the point that we were making, getting back to Josh Sweat, is we had to go through a lot of people till we got to Josh Sweat. I mean, Josh Sweat had 1 year where he had double-digit sacks. He had 11 1 year. And I think after that, the most he's gotten is like 8. He's thrown up some 8s and some 6s. So look, we should be able to find somebody who can replace that. Does have to be replaced, but we should be able to find somebody.
Yeah. And, now Myles Garrett is definitely off the table.
Myles Garrett's off the table. He apparently does not want to win.
He's got Kenny Pickett throwing the ball. Come on.
Well, yeah, he must have had a meeting with Cleveland, and they just said, "Hey, listen, wink, wink. Kenny Pickett's coming,
right?" And here's a check for $150 million.
Yep, championships matter.
Yeah. Dumpster fire.
To be honest, though, I'm glad that they're not getting Myles Garrett. I
think they would have way overpaid for it.
Well, I've never liked him. I think it was just such garbage what he did when he hit Mason Rudolph on the head with a helmet. And then he tried to lie about it afterwards and say, well, he only did that because, Mason Rudolph said something racist to him. I think that's a bunch of BS. I just say good riddance. We don't need that. We don't need that animal over here.
Yeah. Well, he showed it. That's a great take. He showed his true colors. I want out of here because I don't like it here and I'll never win here. Oh, wait, you're going to give me a whole lot of money? All right, I'll stay.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to win. So that leads me anyway to one conclusion. And that is, it was always about getting more money.
Mm-hmm.
And he was either going to get more money from somebody else once they traded him, or he was going to get more money from Haslam. And the owner of the Cleveland Browns has now surpassed the previous owner of the Washington Redskins as the biggest moron in sports. And that makes me happy because now maybe we can stop thinking about Daniel Snyder as the worst owner ever, because I think this guy's getting close. Okay, so Sweat's gone. Now here's somebody who, and we could talk about Slay, but like you said, he was designated as a June 1st release anyway. The Steelers, the news around here. Actually, I'll tell you guys something. I know the Grand Schwabini's probably already aware of this, but not you, Rube, because you don't pay attention to Pittsburgh sports media. Around here, when the news broke that Slay was supposedly coming here and signing a deal, which I guess is 95%, 99% sure, we'll know, I'm sure, by tomorrow morning, if not later tonight. Around here, every sports outlet was basically saying, oh, God, not Patrick Peterson again. He's older than Patrick Peterson was when he came here. Patrick P came here and was an utter disappointment, was actually really bad, even though he's had what some say is a Hall of Fame career. But they're not excited about it here. So how do you guys think about that?
I'll let you take this one to start, Rube.
Yeah. Listen, I think Slay had a good year last year. The only problem that I would see, he's still running with guys down the field. He had that great interception. I don't know if it was against Washington, where essentially he caught the ball that was intended for the receiver in the playoffs.
Green Bay.
Was it Green Bay? Yeah, okay, Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So he showed up and he played. I think the problem is going to be durability with him, because we asked him to come up and tackle, and every time he tackled last year, he was out and he was in the tent. So listen, if they're just going to ask him to cover guys and run, I still think he can play for another year, and I would take him back. as an outside corner, especially now with Rodgers gone. So I don't know. I don't think it would be a terrible 1-year pickup, but expect him to play, half the plays.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he had a great year. He had a really good year. I think actually he brings more value to Pittsburgh than he does to the Eagles, because they've got a cornerback, Joey Porter Jr., who's got lots of talent but hasn't put it all together yet. And I think he could mentor him the way he mentored, Coop and Quinyon. And I will say, look, I mean, we do get on Slay for, it seems like every time he tackles somebody, he's limping off the field. But he did actually change his game. He used to be thought of as a guy who wouldn't tackle. Yeah. And last year, he did tackle a lot. He was pretty good at that as compared to some other years. So the thing with him, it's the mystery of it all. It's, he's 35 years old. When it goes for cornerbacks, it goes fast, and we don't know. He could be the same Slay he was last year, and then that would be a great pickup, or they could get the Slay that's now going to retire. Yeah. So like you just don't know what you're getting. But yeah, like you say, Rob. I mean, I would take him back on the team for another year. So I would say it's a decent signing for Pittsburgh, because they need some veteran presence back there at the corner spot.
Okay. Who else are we going to talk about here?
By the way, just as a reminder, I think he played for the guy in Pittsburgh when the coach was in Detroit and had his best year ever. It's kind of like Sweat going to Arizona and playing for
Gannon.
So Terrell Austin?
Yep. Yeah.
Right. Well, that would make sense. Yeah. That would make sense to me, because around here, that was kind of a shock. Mm-hmm. He was not even on anybody's radar at all. And all of a sudden they announced that. So that's probably the reason.
Yeah. I mean, look, they lost Isaiah Rodgers, backup cornerback. I was talking the other week about how I believed that they really were favoring Kelee Ringo to take over that other cornerback spot. So I think the fact that they didn't resign Isaiah Rodgers kind of is indicative of that. He didn't make a ton. I mean, it was like 2 years, $15 million. So like 7.5 each. I think he did get a decent amount of it guaranteed, though. But I don't know. I was a little surprised. I thought that they were going to make more of an effort to bring him back, because you need more than 3 corners. You need 4 or 5, but I guess they're going to go. Kelee Ringo, maybe draft a corner, and Eli Ricks as another guy. What do you think, Rube?
Yeah, we took a chance on him. On Rodgers. I think he played well when we talked about Slay going out. So I was a bit surprised that he left, but listen, the Vikings paid him a good amount of money, and best of luck. I still think I like Cooper DeJean playing in the slot than playing out in the corner. And I guess what you're saying about Kelee Ringo is, we'll continue to have DeJean inside playing the slot and Ringo on the outside, and you can go pick up another corner. I think what we have learned is you can never have too many defensive backs. How many years was it where just everyone kept getting hurt? But yeah, good for him. Made some good money. I was kind of upset to see that because I thought that would really solidify our defense and keep DeJean inside. So we'll see what happens with Ringo.
Mekhi Becton, not signed by anybody yet. Is that surprising, or do you think maybe they're going to be bringing him back under the, if I'm him, I'm coming back for the same reasons that Zach Bond came back. He started his career with the Jets as a top pick. He didn't pan out there. He ends up on the Eagles playing with guys that know how to play, with a coach that knows how to coach. Next thing you know, he is, he's going to get a payday. Why would you change? Why would you leave? And unless the Eagles don't want him, which I find that would be hard to believe.
Well, they want him, but they're not going to want him as much as maybe somebody else wants him in terms of money.
Well, he's a right tackle, right?
Mhm.
So, you know,
Well, right
Oh,
guard.
he's a guard. He's a
Excuse me,
guard.
Sorry, guard. Yes. So he, you
Right.
know, he's not going to command that top dollar, but I wouldn't
Although
want that line to break up. I wouldn't want any changes on that line if I could avoid it. If I'm the Eagles.
I mean, I sort of look at it like this. I mean, well, I'd like him back, right? And I think it's probably like a 50-50 shot at this point. I did see that there was another offensive lineman that got paid, and it was a lot. So, you know, that's going to kind of raise the price a little bit. But I also kind of look at it like, look, do I think that Tyler Steen, you know, is a great player? No, but, you know, every time that he came in when Becton was hurt, they didn't miss a beat. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like he's irreplaceable. I mean, they basically have 4 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line.
Right.
You know, you don't have to have 5. So I wouldn't worry about it that much if he doesn't come back. I mean, the other thing that they might do as well, they might, for example, in the first round, draft the Lane Johnson replacement, a guy who can play right tackle, and use him at right guard for a year. And then sometimes when they do that, these people end up staying in their place. Like that's what happened with Landon Dickerson. He was going to be the center for Kelsey, and then they're like, you know what? Well, he's a Pro Bowl left guard. Let's just leave him there.
Right.
You know, so and that's what they did exactly with Juergens. You know, they did move him to center.
Yeah.
Well, Juergens was a center too.
Right, but they played him at right guard, you know, for a year until Kelsey was gone. So, you know, I don't think it's like a disastrous thing if he's not back, but I would like to have him back. Rhea, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so he was number 2 on my list of guys I wanted to bring back ahead of the defenders because of what the technical director said. Don't break up the line. You had one of the best all-time running back years ever, and that just didn't happen. You know, he's a special back, but a lot of holes to run through, like one of you guys said earlier. And, you know, maybe he could move out and be the replacement for Lane Johnson over time. And that's our future right tackle. And you got Mailata and Becton defending both ends of the line. And you go and get a guard, perhaps cheaper than you can go and get a tackle. So I'd like to see him come back, probably a little bit more so than you do, Grant Schwabini.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for the Eagles. We could go on to other teams, but I don't know if we necessarily have the time for that, because how are we going to get through the rest of this?
Just a quick one.
Well, I mean,
a quick one. Here's some breaking news. Rams releasing Kupp if no trade. Rams are planning to release Cooper Kupp after starting a new league year unless a trade materializes. I guess we saw that coming with Devontae Smith getting signed the other day. Or
could be going to the Steelers. They've been on him for years.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Devontae Adams goes to the Rams. I think he'll have a big year with Stafford and Puka Nacua on the other side.
I think so too.
You know, they certainly got better. Washington has made a couple nice moves. They got Deebo Samuel. They got Laramie Tunsil, who, you know, has had some issues with substances in the past.
Who hasn't?
But he's moved on to create a 5-year Pro Bowl career. So,
I mean, obviously they haven't taken away from his game.
So that's a good thing. Although you do have to wonder, like, that's a very strange trade. Like, why would you trade a 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle? Now they did get a haul, a second, a third, and a fourth, but boy, you don't usually trade those guys.
No,
so interesting.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw that. I thought, is there something the Texans know that the Commanders don't know? But at the same time, I mean, I think looking forward at the NFC East, you can obviously see that the Commanders are trying to
they're trying
position themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to go for it.
Yeah,
they're trying to go for it, which they should be.
And they brought in a defensive tackle, Javon
Kinlaw.
Yeah, or Kinlaw.
But he was good on San Francisco, but then he went to the Jets, so I have to assume he wasn't good last year.
Well, it just depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to build in the draft. Early mocks show them picking up a linebacker, I think, from Alabama, but they haven't had great luck drafting linebackers lately either. So, but that stuff will develop as time goes on.
They've gotten better. I thought a really good move was the Steelers getting DK Metcalf. Yeah. I think that helps them a tremendous amount.
Who's going to throw him the ball?
Mark Schwab.
Yeah. Well, it's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. So when that happens, who knows?
Please.
I did see one person on X said something like they had a picture of like Mike Tomlin rolling his eyes, and then the caption was, "This is Mike T after 1 week of dealing with Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and Pickens."
Yeah, I know. I mean, from a straight football standpoint, that pickup, no matter who the quarterback is, does take a lot of pressure off of George Pickens.
Oh yeah.
So,
although I will say this though, I don't think he'll be traded, because what would really be the point unless maybe they bring in a Cooper Kupp, but I don't think I'd rule it out though. I mean, the fact that they got DK Metcalf might mean that they're not planning on paying George Pickens next year, and they may trade him. It's possible.
Or, first of all, I wouldn't bring in Cooper Kupp because Cooper Kupp is 31 and injury prone. Believe it or not. And you know what? We'll talk about this on the Steelers show. We'll talk about my take on that and what it comes from.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that now.
That's right. But I wouldn't bring in Cooper Kupp. But it'll be interesting.
Let's talk long ball.
Let's do that. Golf? Is that what we're talking
about? No, not golf.
All right. Well, I want to remind everybody before we move on to page 2 to follow us on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch. And of course, grab the podcast on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We drop it right after the show. Page 2, the Phillies. Will Bomer and Turner turn it around? And Strom, is it time to worry? Now, this is interesting. My take last week, that I felt like the Steelers, the Phillies message was getting stale. I have since gone on. I listen to a couple national radio shows at night when I'm coming home from work. The Infinity Sports Network.
Sure, yeah.
Mark Ryan, Jody Mack.
Get to the point.
I love Jody Mack.
They kind of I love Jody Mack. They kind of agree. I was surprised
with what?
With the fact that the Phillies, it's kind of like a stale situation. Still a great team, still great players. We could talk about all the positives. The negatives go without saying, but it's kind of like you're bringing the gang back for one more shot, and it's not really. They're not really into it. They're not really going to do it. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Before I put a picture up here of the first guy you guys want to talk about, and that would be Mr. Bomer. Mr. Bohm.
Have you noticed, Rube? Have you seen that Bohm is having a pretty darn good spring?
I did. I did notice that.
He's got like 5 or 6 home runs.
He's got a few. I don't know. I know he's hitting. He's got at least 3. I didn't know if he had 5 or 6, but that's great. Listen, these guys are all going to hit home runs. Well, I think we all agree with that. And if you ask any of them, they're going to say, listen, we're going to continue to hit the long ball. It's just going to be, are we going to be hot at the right time and getting on base? And listen, I stick with my prediction of, I think our starting staff is going to be better this year than it was last year. I think we're going to play with a little less pressure on our shoulders because people are going to think, just like the technical director did, is, well, this is the same old team just running it back. And it's a definition of insanity. I actually think we're going to have the more I look and the more I read and the more I see, I think we're going to be really good this year. And I don't have any doubt that we're going to win the East. Now, if if the shoulder turns out to be something worse than we think it is, and we start to lose some pitchers, then all bets are off.
Well, I think the key to this season, and that's why I put a shot of Trey Turner up there. To me, Trey Turner is the key to the season, because what they are doing is, instead of batting him second, they made the change to bat him leadoff. And what they're hoping to do is they're hoping to force Trey Turner to play like the old Trey Turner. Before, when he's playing in the 2-hole, essentially, you either have Schwarber hits a home run or he's out. Okay.
Right.
Or he walks, right? So, but, basically it's like, somebody comes up and hits a bomb. What do you want to do? You want to hit a bomb, right? And so by putting him in that leadoff hole, they're hoping for line drive contact. They're hoping for getting him on the bases and trying to swipe 40 bags, which he's done in the past, instead of like, it was 33 2 years ago. And then it was like somewhere in the 20s last year. They're trying to get him, back to playing that kind of small ball. He'll still hit his 20 home runs if he does that, right? It'll just be, he turns on a pitch. But that'll get, and then that'll get Bryce Harper to the 2 spot, which I think is good, because he's our best hitter, and he'll get more at bats in the 2 instead of the 3. And then you're going to put Bomer in the 3rd, and you're going to have Schwarber back clean up. And then from there, it'll be like, either Castellanos or Max Kepler. So, look, I think if Turner can have a big year, because here's the thing, you can look at all these other teams who are saying, like you can look at the Mets, they signed Soto, right? You can look at the Dodgers, they signed, everybody, right?
Right.
But the bottom line is like, we could sign somebody this year, and it could be Trey Turner, because we're paying him $300 million, and the last 2 years he hasn't played like it. But if he plays like it, then all of a sudden it's like we've added a guy like that. And that's really what we need to have happen. He's kind of been the big, in my mind, offensive disappointment. And if he can turn it around this year, then I think we'll be in decent shape. I'm not really sure that they're going to win the division. I think there's just a lot of competition. The Braves are good. The Mets are good. And to be honest, I don't think it even matters. We made the NLCS and the World Series being a wild card team. So just win enough games to get into the playoffs and see what happens.
I like Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Ranger, and this guy Luzardo supposedly is the real deal. So I think, yes, I like putting Turner at the top of the lineup. You could argue that maybe it takes some of our mojo away from having Schwarber go out there and just start games well. But listen, you keep that rotation going through the year, limit injuries, they're gonna be tough to beat.
Well, and they're going to have Painter coming up in July.
And Painter coming up, yep.
And so if, let's just say they go for a 6-man rotation for a while, you also have the potential, Rob, of putting Ranger Suarez in the closer role, which, remember, we did that the year we went to the World Series. It was him and Eflin kind of back and forth. And that might not be a bad thing. Yes, somebody from the Sports Port says Garrett Cole out for the year with Tommy John surgery.
Really?
I think we should be calling up the Yankees. Taijuan Walker's available.
We'll drive him up the turnpike.
Actually, he apparently, believe it or not, they say he's looking really good in spring training. Now, I don't know if they're saying that to entice teams to make an offer for him, but I've listened to Topper talk about it. It seems pretty genuine. So they might take a flyer on somebody like him. With that kind of a lineup in the Yankees, he could win 15 games like he did for the Phillies 2 years ago.
Well, you wish the best for the guy. I mean, he
Yeah.
just had. I don't remember ever seeing anything like that in my lifetime, and just watching someone just fall apart. And I just want to believe that he was injured, and
I think he was.
I hope the best for him.
Strum, now they're talking, they're just going to take it very slow with him. They said he could be ready for opening day, but they don't want to rush it. They're thinking like, let's maybe hold him out for like April, bring him back in May. I don't know. That kind of stuff always makes you a little nervous when you hear that kind of thing. But we'll see. I mean, bullpen is an area where you can add at the trade deadline. So, we'll worry about that when we get to it. All right. I think we are now ready for some 76ers mind scramble.
There you go. And there he is, Morey. He looks extremely disturbed there, as if he said something he didn't mean to say.
Yeah. Now, Rube, I want to bring up a couple things. The reason why I put Morey on there, because obviously there's nothing else to talk about.
What are you talking about? A huge win against the Jazz last night. Come
on. Yeah. Well, was it Lonnie somebody?
One, we've got
Lonnie
2
Walker?
the fourths on our team, right?
Yeah.
We got 2 the fourths on our team.
Yeah. But anyway, it's time for Morey to go. What's he won? He's won nothing. And some of the things that he has said in the past couple days have just been mind blowing. Did you hear the Blink comment?
Mm-mm.
Oh, he said this was a couple weeks ago, but he said, if everybody's healthy and you just kind of squint, you can kind of see a championship. I'm like, what are you saying? And then in this past week, he said, he was talking about the team. He was like, well, we took the Celtics to game 7 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. What? That's good. Second round, 7th game against the Celtics 3 years ago.
That's kind of like us here. That's kind of like us. I mean, if everybody's here and you just kind of squint, you can kind of see an Emmy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's right.
Right.
I think there's a better chance of that happening.
Right.
Yeah. So, and let's be honest. I mean, Joel Embiid is on a month-long tour to try to find some surgeon who will tell him, I can make your knee better again, with some experimental surgery. So chances that goes well, I'd say aren't very good.
Maybe he's hanging out with Aaron Rodgers too.
Yeah. And you're right, Rube, what you had said before, they need to lose. Now, maybe Utah was that bad. I mean, they're worse than the Sixers. So they're going to win a couple games, but they better find themselves into the bottom 6 so they can keep their number 1 pick.
Still at number 7.
Number 7. Well, they were at number 6. They bumped up to number 7 with that win.
I have nothing to say. I think everything Rube said at the beginning of the year,
let's go on.
Is true.
Let's go on to the Fly Guys.
Yeah, let's move on to page 4, which is the Flyers. Thank you lots. The trade deadline breakdown. There's your boy, no longer a Flyer. Thoughts on this season now that it's kind of wrapping up.
I'll let you take it from here, Rob. And does Hockey Jesus want to join us?
Let's bring Hockey Jesus. This is Hockey Jesus from the Pittsburgh Show. Welcome to the show, Hockey Jesus.
What's up, boys?
What's up, HJ?
So we know you've been paying, and for those of you who don't know, this is Hockey Jesus. He preaches after every single Penguins game. And during the playoffs, though, he does preach after most of the rounds in the playoffs. You can catch him on the Sports podcast at the Sports Podcast.
I apologize for my background.
Yeah.
But at least I'm wearing a Temple Owl shirt. So,
there we go.
Got a little bit of Philly in me. So.
There you go.
Why are you wearing a Temple Owl shirt?
That's where all my money went from my kids' college career.
Okay.
And Hockey Jesus did go to Drexel, so he has a Philadelphia connection.
I know what Philly's about. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he got educated in Philadelphia that there is a world beyond cow pastures.
I watched the Flyers get their ass kicked by New Jersey the other day. And by the way, I'm very much familiar with getting my ass kicked because the Penguins are garbage. I did analyze your picks though. I do like that Nikita Grebenkin that you guys picked up from Toronto.
He may be hockey Jesus, but he still can't speak hockey.
I can't speak Russian like Mark.
Yeah, listen, we got a Russian and what a
first round pick.
A first round pick.
A first round pick. You gave up a fourth and a sixth, and you got rid of Lawton. I think that's a good trade.
And I mean,
you should be happy with.
And let's be honest. I mean, we always like Lawton because he plays with heart.
Yeah,
and fire.
He's a good two-way player.
You know, he's a good two-way player. But let's be honest. I mean, he's a third line center.
Yeah, that's where he belongs. He doesn't belong on the second. He belongs on the third. I mean, that's where he'll fit in Toronto, and it'll work out well for them, I think.
Right, but the bottom line is he's not doing anything for us right now.
No, I mean, you did have to retain $1.5 million, but that's really nothing.
No,
think about I think you still got like $16 million to spend on the cap, so you're doing fine there.
Yeah, I think so. We've been.
What's your thoughts, Rube, on the Flyers? It looks like they've given up.
Yeah, well, the last week and a half hasn't been pretty to watch, and what's happening is what I probably think we all thought was going to happen at the beginning of the season. We'd stick around, maybe a little bit after the All-Star break, but just not enough talent, not enough defense. Not enough goaltending. Let's go get a high pick and let's keep building this thing. And yeah, like to have Lawton around. We've been trying to move him. Sounds like we got a deal we couldn't refuse. A first rounder and a Russian is good for me. And let's move on, get a good pick, and keep building this thing.
Yeah, you look like you're going to get like a 10 or 11 pick. That's where it looks like they're slotting in right now, depending on, of course, what happens in the last 15 games. But
if this past week is any indication,
I don't know. You got a long ways to go before you catch the Penguins on a 5-game skid, except for they did beat Minnesota the other day. But yeah, it's tough at the end of the season. I saw that the Flyers did recall some guys from Lehigh, so looks like they're gonna bring some of the youth movement up to let some of these guys play in the NHL for at least 10 games, which is smart. That's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'll tell you, I will say this though. I will say one thing that has been disappointing for me, Rube. I've been really disappointed with Sam Ersson. I thought that he really kind of in mid-season had kind of seemed like he found his way. And ever since coming back from the Four Nations, I mean, he's just, shooting it right through him. I mean, like the game against the Penguins, as you recall, I mean, like every shot was, from far away. I mean, there was wasn't like great chances. It was just like, traffic in front, shot from way far away. And he's just not even seeing it. So
if you recall the movie Footloose, I believe, I'm looking for a hero, or was that silly song, right?
I'm looking for a hero. I'm looking for a hero at the end of the night.
And I think that's what Sam Ersson is for the Flyers and for Flyers fans. It's like, we're just, come on. How long has it been since we had a legitimate goaltender? And the fact of the matter is that
we had one, but he, got into trouble with crime.
Yeah, crime in Canada.
But even he wasn't. Even he didn't play up to our expectations.
It's hard to find a good goalie, though, Rube. I mean, about everybody except for like 3 or 4 teams are saying exactly what you're saying. You need to get a goalie who can just make the saves at the right time. That's really the important thing. You don't need a lights out goalie like, some teams have all the time. You just need a goalie to be able to make the right saves at the right time. And when they miss that one that's like above the dot and maybe, 30 feet away, that's just so disheartening. The other problem I think you have, which the Penguins have too, you just have no defense. I mean, Ristolainen's been garbage the past 5 games too. I mean, he's given the puck up to guys like Carlson does. And that's no good for a goalie either. So you got to have both, and they got to learn to play together. Your best defenseman is Drysdale. I love that guy. He's going to be a superstar, I think.
He's just got to stay healthy. That's the big thing with him. And he has been this year. And I think if there's a positive to take away from the season, among a few others, right? Michkov seems like the real deal, is that Drysdale has stayed healthy, most of the season, which was a big concern going in. So
yeah, and I mean, in the off season, you don't really only have restricted free agents assigned like Forrester, Cates, and York. So, and I don't even know if you want to sign York.
And I guess Cates was
it's been a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I like his game. I think he's got a good game. He's got a little grit to him. He can score. He doesn't have as much talent, I think, as Forrester. But I think he plays a good game.
So I think if we want to end on a positive for the Flyers, I think the bottom line is that, they, at least they've still embraced the rebuild. They'll get some decent picks. I think they have like 7 picks in the first 2 rounds next year.
Yeah, I think they do.
Something like that.
Really? Holy cow.
Yeah. But I also think that I'm pretty sure that there are a number of contracts coming off the books. So I do believe that they want to sign like a all-star caliber center, in this off season. So I do think that
Crosby's not available.
I know that it's going to take some time to rebuild, obviously, because, whoever they take in the first round this year, for example, will be a part of that rebuild, but they might not play for 2 years, right? That's the way hockey works. But I do think...
Well, Michkov came up this year, but he's an exception.
Right. But I think the bottom line is I think that the rebuild is kind of... the teardown is over and the rebuild is now beginning. Like, I don't think we're going to be, I think we subtracted mostly everybody who we wanted to subtract. And now it's going to be more moving forward. I mean, maybe like Couturier is left to retract, to minus just because he's getting older. But, for the most part, I think they're moving forward. So I think that's positive.
All right, guys. HJ, thanks for being here. We'll see you in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
See you.
See you.
All right, man.
Thanks
HJ.
Let's skip. We'll do March Madness next week.
Yeah.
Let's just go on to what we're watching.
That's right. What we're watching. What is that, Schwaber?
Well, I'll tell you what it is for all you folks watching us on Twitter right now. Thanks again for watching. And, sometimes when you're trying to watch shows at home, you just don't know what to watch, right? You're just like, there's so many channels. There's Netflix, there's Prime, there's Apple TV Plus, there's Max. I mean, there's Hulu. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And sometimes you just wind up watching trailers. 45 minutes go by and it's time to go to bed and you blew it. Well, guess what? Not anymore. Not anymore, because we're here for you. This is a service that we provide free of charge. And we will let you know what to watch and what not to watch from some of the best minds in the entertainment business.
Wow.
Now, Rube and I have decided to go in on a double review this week.
Wow. It's a...
there should be music. Shouldn't there be music or something? That
should be,
that?
but
you know what?
Don't try anything now.
I'm not...
Okay.
I promise. I'm already at my limit.
Let's just put the picture up.
There it is.
Okay, so Rube and I both completed season 1 of the Hulu thriller Paradise. Rube, you just want to give the viewers a little, script without giving away what happens at the end?
Yeah. So I'll first say to all our listeners out there is value in sitting down, perhaps after you've had a cocktail or two, on a ski trip with a bunch of buddies, and somebody's watching this and you're like, well, I wouldn't really watch this normally, but holy cow, it was a gem of a show. The premise is there's a catastrophe, a natural catastrophe that happens globally, and there is a need for preserving like the rich and the best of the best people, at least in the United States. And so the premise is they build a world underneath a mountain in Colorado, where the president goes and others go with him. And
are you sure this isn't a documentary?
This is not a documentary.
Not a documentary.
Okay.
But let me tell you something, right? I'm going to give you my best imitation of the Grand Schwabini, and they say imitation is the best form of flattery.
Okay.
Let me tell you something here. This is the bottom line. If you want an exciting show with great acting, a really cool premise, and a twist and turn every now and again, and perhaps one of the best episodes of TV you'll ever see, which was the penultimate 7th out of 8 episodes, you will go and watch the show, and you will go and watch it tonight.
But does it have sex? Does it have sex?
Some.
There's a little bit. There's a little bit, but
that's my premise for watching.
No,
it wasn't gratuitous. It was meaningful. It was
okay.
Meaningful.
Good. As long as it's part of the storyline and good.
It was
okay.
There was a voyeur component to the sex.
Oh, even better. Oh yeah. Now I'm all in. I'm getting the premium Hulu subscription tonight.
So the bottom line is, I agree with Rube completely. It was a really good one. Totally set up for season 2, which is going to be great. Already renewed for season 2, and apparently they have the writer has put together 3 seasons. And they did say that that we might not have to wait a year because it's already been approved. I mean, we might have to wait 2 years. Sorry, so it might just be a year. So that's exciting. That's good news. And I have to tell you guys, at one point in time, I was not a Hulu guy. I just didn't take the plunge. And you have to question yourselves now at this point. Like, if you don't have Hulu, what is wrong with you? Because Hulu has some of the best damn TV out there. And, I'm looking at you right now, technical director.
I had Hulu.
You had it? You don't have it now.
I watched
which takes you down a notch.
Okay. So I didn't even
lesser being.
I didn't even know I was up a notch to begin with. So that makes the fact that I've fallen a notch actually makes me feel better.
Yes.
That is
but yeah, not having Hulu, it's definitely a stain on your record.
Technical director, you will not be disappointed with this.
You know what? Go ahead, Rube. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you were talking about what's the show that you guys watch with all the zombies? What's it called?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, right? Which is just not a thing that I would watch. And I'm not saying this is that, but it's a little bit kind of more. It's closer to like sci-fi-ish than it is otherwise. And
it's
if you
kind
like
of
that
like government, CIA, and sci-fi.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. I'm going to watch it. I had Hulu and I watched the show about the opioid crisis with Michael Keaton, which I thought was tremendous. And that was the reason that we got Hulu. And then after that, it wasn't a matter of saying I didn't want to have Hulu anymore. It was just we were watching so many other things on so many other services. We just kind of dropped the subscription. But you guys aren't the only people talking about Paradise. So I think I'll watch it. Now, if there's a sci-fi component to it, I don't see my wife watching it. She's not into that.
No, it's not
Listen,
that sci-fi.
I'm not a big sci-fi guy, Chris.
Okay.
I am not, and I really enjoyed this.
Okay.
When I say sci-fi, I'm going to give you, it's like a 2 out of 10 for sci-fi.
Okay. All right. Well, she will give it a 1 episode watch. I guarantee you that. And if she doesn't like it, I'll continue.
Yeah. And make your own decisions.
And if she does like it, then we'll continue together. Maybe I can get her to the voyeur episode.
This is the Sports Porch.
All right.
All right.
Oh boy, he got so wound up with the voyeur piece. He hit the wrong button.
Why don't you say the goodbyes now?
All right. Thanks for watching the Sports Porch Philadelphia all over the world, live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And of course, you can catch the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And please, we do drop the show right after the show, so you can catch up with us there. And if you think about it, head on over to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Philadelphia Sports Porch. For the Grand Schwabini, for Rasta Rube, I am your technical director, and I am out. Still got that old music going, guys.
Who did the music?